one of the things that we teach is communicating for results. And the whole idea behind that is teaching people how to actually communicate better and more effectively so that they can be better leaders and better colleagues. And the best way I've ever learned to do that is by teaching a session that's called the 4 Keys to Successful Interpersonal Skills. And what it's really meant to do is to give you good communication or good people skills. And an interesting thing about the word communication, and other than when it's a describer, most of the time when you see the word leadership, you can almost always substitute the word leadership with communication. So if you're learning about leadership skills, what you're really learning is communication skills. So learning communication skills is good for everybody at all levels, especially when we want to try to develop leadership in everybody at every level of an organization. So here's what the 4 keys to successful interpersonal skills are. The first one is separate the person from the problem. So to separate the person from the problem, that means you don't attack people. It means that you don't get angry and call them a name. Simply put, it might seem so obvious, and people listening to this might think, well, of course you wouldn't attack somebody, but it happens all too often where out of anger we say, you're such an idiot, or that's such a dumb idea, or something like that, when really what that does is that stops the communication right away. The defense mechanisms of the receiver kick right in right away, and communication stops. People become defensive, the wall comes up, the communication shuts down, and the focus is away from the message. It really is kind of ridiculous when you break it down that way, but we do that. We say, listen, here's an insult. Now that I've insulted you and I have your attention, here's a really useful piece of advice. It just simply doesn't work that way. So when people become defensive, they can become defensive not just because of what you said. They can become defensive if you use a tone. Sometimes people speak in an angry way or a sarcastic way or a condescending way. They can even just use their body language. And that's really, not just what is said, but what is heard. If you walk up to someone and say, nice to meet you, with a condescending tone, the transcript of that reads perfectly fine. Nice to meet you. What a nice thing to say to someone. But if you say it with that tone, nice to meet you, it definitely communicates a much different message. So when we have a tone that's instructional and not demeaning, instead of speaking to somebody like we're their parent, and we speak to someone like they're another adult, that's a lot more successful for helping to get your communication across. And when you separate the person from the problem, you're able to have a constructive conversation about what it is that needs to change. Sounds simple, but it really needs to be revisited very often.